I remember when it all started, it was almost by accident. I saw an ad while browsing some random website, make easy money by playing online. I didn't pay much attention, but that night I decided to test my luck. After all, what did I have to lose with a few bucks? The colorful glow of the betting platform seduced me, the flashing lights, the easy rewards. The first win came quickly, as if fate was guiding me. It was a small amount, but enough to make me believe that maybe I was born for this. I wasn't an addict, far from it. It was just a pastime, something fun to distract my mind after a stressful day at work. The sound of the coins dropping, the thrill of the spinning roulette. It was addictive, sure, but I was in control. At least that's what I told myself. My bets began to grow. Every time I won, I bet more, convinced that the next big win was just around the corner, within my reach. Weeks passed, and the amounts that were once small began to grow. The excitement was intoxicating, but when I lost, the emptiness that opened up inside me was suffocating. At first, it was easy to justify. I just need one big bet to recover everything, and of course I always lost. But I couldn't stop now. I was so close I could feel it. Every loss only made the need for a new bet more urgent. I started lying to my wife, Helena. I told her I was working late. That business was going well. She believed me, of course. Why wouldn't she? We had a stable life. Everything was in order. I still believed that if I kept betting, everything would work out. It was just a rough patch, a temporary setback. But the nights grew long, lonely. The glow of the screen was my only companion. Then the bills started to pile up. The savings, they simply vanished. In the blink of an eye. How could I have let this happen? The negative balance expanded like a shadow, suffocating me more each day. But I was close. I knew it. I just needed one more chance. One last bet to turn things around. Lena noticed. How could she not? It started with small fights, arguments about the money that was disappearing. I defended myself, insisting it was temporary, that soon everything would be back to normal. She didn't believe me anymore. How could she? The lies piled up, heavy like stones tied around my neck. Until one morning she was gone. No words, just a letter, saying she couldn't watch me destroy myself any longer. I read those words with a numb mind, but the tears never came. They were reserved for another time. I was already lost. Now, alone, betting was all I had left. I lived only for that fleeting adrenaline, the illusion that the next move would be the salvation. I isolated myself, stopped going out, stopped seeing friends. The real world had nothing more to offer me. Everything I wanted was there, in the hypnotic glow of the screen. The debts grew. The collectors started knocking on the door. I didn't answer. The constant sound of notifications on my phone was a cruel reminder of where I had gotten myself into. Deep down, I knew there was no way out, but I didn't want to believe it. I couldn't. So I did the unthinkable. I took out a loan, one last act of desperation. An absurd amount, far beyond what I could ever repay. The pressure in my chest was growing, but at the same time there was a sliver of hope. Something inside me still believed that I could save myself. One final bet. I bet everything. And I lost. At that moment I felt something snap inside me. A sensation of free fall, as if the ground had been pulled out from under my feet. It was all over. The life I knew. There was no future, no hope, only emptiness. Well, that's when I remembered him. The guy from the platform. The expert who had given me tips a few weeks ago, promising that his strategies were foolproof. I clung to that idea as if it were my only lifeline. I called him. I needed help, a way out. He answered with that insufferably calm voice, as if he had no idea of the chaos I was in. But he knew. Of course he knew. He listened to me patiently, and then made a proposal I never expected. "You want to get out of this?" he asked. "I have an opportunity. One last game. But it's not just any game. It's not money you'll be betting this time." I laughed nervously, not understanding. "What do you mean?" He was silent for a few seconds. "Your life. You'll bet your own life." The suggestion hung in the air like poison. My thoughts raced. I had nothing left. I had lost everything. And if this was my only chance? I hung up the phone without responding. I spent hours, maybe days, mulling it over. I was already dead inside. What would it matter to bet the rest? But instead of calling him back, I did something else. Something no one would ever imagine. With a trembling smile on my lips and my hands still sweating, I walked into a physical casino. It was my first time. There was something ironic and macabre about it. I sat down in front of the roulette. The same roulette that had tormented me so many times online. And there, with the chip in hand, I looked at the croupier. As if in slow motion, I tossed the chip onto the table. Red.
My life had always been simple. Homework, maybe a movie or two before bed, and that was it. I never used to complain, but the monotony sometimes suffocated me. The days dragged on, with nothing to stir any real emotion in me. Then, one of those tedious nights, I decided to download a language app. The idea was to improve my Spanish, something I had always wanted to do. And that's how I met Javier. From the beginning, he was different. While others focused solely on correcting grammar, Javier seemed genuinely interested in me. Our conversations flowed as if we had known each other for years. He asked about my day, how I was feeling, what made me smile. When I mentioned something that upset me, he always knew exactly what to say to comfort me. "You know, if you were here, I would take you to the most beautiful places in Spain," he would say with that soothing voice. And so I began to lose myself in his stories about Spain. Javier spoke passionately about his country. The Alhambra castle with its towering walls, the royal palace of Madrid where he dreamed of taking me for a walk, the city of Segovia, which he said was like a fairy tale. I would close my eyes and see myself beside him, exploring every corner, feeling the warmth of the Spanish sun on my skin. Over time, these conversations became the most important part of my day. I found myself thinking about Javier constantly, imagining what life would be like with him. He was attentive, always available, and made me feel special. I didn't realize how deeply I was falling for him until he suggested I visit him in Spain. "My family has a business there," he said confidently. "I can help you get a job. You'll have a much better life." That idea kept spinning in my head. Why not? My life here was so routine, so predictable. I had nothing to lose. Javier offered me everything. The chance to live a real romance, to explore a new country, to start over. When he offered to pay for my ticket and help with my passport, it felt like everything was falling into place. He wanted us to be together as much as I did. I trusted him blindly. A few weeks later, Javier mentioned that his cousin, Anna, lived near me and could help facilitate the process. I met Anna in person and liked her immediately. She had a friendly demeanor and seemed genuinely eager to help. She was the one who suggested I take some blood tests, claiming it would help with my entry into the family business. I found it odd, but Javier reassured me. "It's just a procedure. Everything will be fine." And then the big day arrived. I could hardly contain my excitement at the airport. It felt as though I was finally leaving behind a colorless life to dive into a future filled with possibilities. During the flight, I closed my eyes and imagined the reunion with Javier, our tight embraces, the kisses that had only existed in dreams so far. It was all so vivid in my mind, I could almost smell him. But when I landed, I was greeted by someone I didn't expect. Javier's brother. He had an emergency, the man said with a strange smile. I was disappointed, but soon I spoke to Javier on the phone. His voice calmed me. I promise he will see you soon. I'm as anxious as you. That brief reassurance gave me the strength to follow his brother to the car. The car ride initially gave me butterflies, but not in a bad way. I was tired, yes, but full of dreams. The Spanish sky seemed wider, bluer, as if I was stepping into a new world, and in a way, I was. His brother wasn't much of a talker, but that was okay. I was too eager to speak much myself. The road seemed long, winding through narrow hills, and the landscape shifted from urban to more isolated, more rural. The signs flew by quickly, and I didn't recognize any of the names. My thoughts drifted to the future. Javier and I strolling through the castles of Toledo and Segovia. He had already promised to take me to all those places, and I was daydreaming. Suddenly, his brother became more withdrawn, answering with monosyllables when I tried to start a conversation. I didn't know why he was acting this way. Maybe he was just tired, I thought. But soon, my discomfort began to grow. He started driving faster, slamming the doors harder when we stopped. When we finally arrived at the house, it was late, already dark, and I was exhausted. The house was simple, different from what I had imagined. Something was wrong, I could feel it. As soon as I entered, he took my bag and suitcase, insisting that he would carry them to the room, and I followed him. He led me to a small but clean room. There was a single bed with simple sheets, a small wardrobe, a bedside table with an old lamp. The bed linens were folded in the corner, and the attached bathroom was equally simple, but had hot water. I allowed myself a moment of relief until I heard the door slam shut behind me. I turned quickly and my heart raced. The door was locked. I ran to it, tried the handle, but it wouldn't budge. I started banging on the door, calling his name. I knocked until my hands hurt, but no one answered. Panic seized me, my whole body trembling. I screamed, begged for help, but the silence outside was crushing. Desperate, I kept pounding and shouting for what felt like hours until my voice was hoarse and weak. Hours passed before someone appeared. It was an older woman with severe features, grey hair tied tightly in a bun, and dark clothes. She entered the room without making eye contact, carrying a tray of food. She seemed indifferent, almost mechanical, and I tried to talk to her. But the woman didn't respond. She simply placed the tray on the table and left silently, locking the door behind her. Her expression was vacant, as if nothing could disturb her, and her wrinkled hands trembled slightly as she placed the food. Every time she came, I tried to talk to her. I pleaded, cried, asked where my bag was, my phone, anything that could connect me to the outside world. She never answered, only avoided my gaze with that cold, unwavering expression. As the days went by, despair turned into a black hole in my chest. There was no more hope. I barely slept, waking up in the middle of the night, suffocated by the oppressive silence of the room. I tried to convince myself it wasn't real, that it was all a misunderstanding, that soon everything would be fine. But deep down, something told me there was no escape. One night, I woke up in a different place. My arms were tied down, my body too heavy to move. I was in hospital, but it wasn't a normal one. I could hear voices in the background, one of them saying, "The tests are perfect, she's a match." Those words echoed in my mind. Remove, keep alive longer, intact organs. My heart nearly stopped. It felt like the ground had disappeared beneath me. What were they going to do to me? Desperation overwhelmed me as I realized what was happening. Those conversations, that request for tests, it was all for this. Everything had been planned, every detail from the start. I was just a disposable piece to be sold. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. Panic consumed me, and tears streamed down my face as I fought, futilely, to free myself. But it was too late. The last thing I felt was the needle piercing my skin as my vision slowly darkened, and then everything was gone.
My name is Ian, but online I go by Ian F. ENF_S, a well-known gamer famous for my Battle Royale videos. My channel was blowing up. Millions of subscribers, sponsorships from big companies, everything I had ever dreamed of. But success has its price, and mine turned out to be far higher than I could have ever imagined. It all started when I made a video featuring a new indie game. I was just looking for something different, something that would show my followers I was always ahead of the trends. The game was called Periphery, a mix of shooter and horror. It was brutal, and the online multiplayer feature was what caught most people's attention. Matches that grew more intense with every victory. During a live stream, I decided to play against anyone who joined the match. That's when he showed up. His name was unknown_player_0. His avatar was just a dark silhouette, without any detail. Great, I thought, another troll looking for attention. But this guy was different. He was extremely skilled, blocking my every move, predicting each step I would take before I even made it. I'm known for being one of the best in Battle Royale. Losing to him was humiliating, but what came after was even worse. During the match, my microphone picked up a sinister laugh, something that didn't seem to come from any of my equipment. The laugh was quiet, almost imperceptible, but unsettling. After the game, a message popped up. "You should have left while you could." I laughed it off, thinking it was just another dumb joke from some salty player. But soon I started to notice that my channel was being hacked. Videos were disappearing, my password was being changed multiple times, and for some reason my camera was turning on by itself at night. I thought it was some hardware glitch at first, but then it happened. One night I woke up to a strange sound. It was the sound of keys being typed on my keyboard. When I looked at the screen, I saw something that made my blood run cold. My channel was streaming live. I got up and walked closer to the monitor, trying to understand what was going on. The camera showed a hooded figure sitting exactly where I usually record my videos. The chat was in panic, but I couldn't do anything. I tried closing the stream, turning off the computer, but nothing worked. Then, the figure on the screen slowly turned its head toward me. I wasn't just watching a recording anymore. He was watching me. "You're in my game now," he whispered. Desperate, I ran to the door, but it wouldn't budge, locked as if someone was holding it from the other side. I heard the laughter again, echoing around the room. Panic consumed me, and my vision began to blur. When I finally managed to escape the room, the sound of the stream still echoed in my ears. Only this time I knew I was trapped in his game forever.